Beaten, then best again, then beaten again. 4 frontier launches in 51 days, and every one of them claimed the crown. So which model is actually the best one? Walk with me because we're not answering that until the last scene of this video. And the number that eventually settles it for you isn't on any leaderboard. It's printed on one lab's own launch page, in a table where a rival beats them.
Hey, Liam here. Say the names out loud first because they've all changed since spring. GPT 5.6 from OpenAI, Claude Fable 5 from Anthropic, Gemini 3.5 from Google DeepMind, Grok 4.5 from xAI. My read is that half the people watching couldn't tell you which of those shipped most recently, and honestly, why would they?
Last episode, we followed the chip war between the United States and China, and where the machines that train these things get built. Today, we're one floor up, in the room where the models come out, and where the ranking changes faster than anybody watching can keep up. 4 labs are in this fight, and each one is making a different bet. OpenAI is the lab most people have actually used, co-founded by Sam Altman. Their stated bet is efficiency. In their own words on the launch page, they trained the new family to get more useful work out of every token. More result per dollar, not just a bigger score.
I'm Erica. Anthropic, co-founded by Dario Amodei, is betting on the top of the range. Their own announcement calls Fable 5 state-of-the-art on nearly all tested benchmarks, and in the same paragraph they say they ship it with safeguards that route some flagged questions to a weaker model instead. Both things are true, and they published both.
Maya here, Google DeepMind, co-founded by Dimas Hassabis, is betting on Reach, frontier class, in the free tier, in billions of hands. Though they led with the fast model, not the top one. Their own page says the bigger 3.5 Pro was still coming.
xAI is betting on price and speed. Grok 4.5 costs $2.06 out per million tokens, and at launch it wasn't available in the European Union at all. 4 labs, 4 bets, 4 different things given up. My read is that not one of those bets is unreasonable.
Erica, give them the calendar. It's the number that started this.
The record says this is the actual cadence. Gemini 3.5 arrived on the 19th of May, Claude Fable 5 on the 9th of June, Grok 4.5 on the 8th of July. GPT 5.6 went generally available on the 9th of July, 1 day later. 4 labs, 4 launches, 51 days end-to-end.
And every launch page says the same thing, best in the world at something.
Which is not a lie, and that's the part people miss. Both things are true. OpenAI writes that its flagship sets a new standard across coding and science. Anthropic writes that Fable 5 is state-of-the-art on nearly all tested benchmarks. Google says its Flash model delivers frontier performance for agents and coding. xAI says Grok 4.5 is its strongest model ever. 4 pages, 4 honest sentences, 1 field, and no agreed scoreboard to settle them against each other.
The cold fact is that a launch page is an ad with footnotes.
So here's the trap the whole internet fell into. Newest equals best. It feels obviously right. A lab spent a year and a mountain of compute. Of course, the new one wins. And for a couple of the tasks on their chart, it does. For the task you're actually doing tonight, it may not, and it may cost you 10 times more to find that out.
Wait, am I close if I say we're asking the wrong question entirely?
You're close. The question that actually has an answer is best at what and at what price. Those 2 words, at what, do more work than every leaderboard combined.
Which model is actually the best right now? Just tell me which one.
I'm not going to tell you, and I want you to notice that I could. I could name one right now, it would sound authoritative, and it would be stale before this video is a month old. What survives is the method underneath it.
Different tools, different jobs.
Right tool, right job. Let's go find out why the right tool keeps changing.
"51 days. Why is it so fast?
Because a frontier model isn't a product anymore, it's a cycle. Compute gets assembled, A training run finishes, the safety evaluation runs, and the thing ships. That loop used to take a couple of years. It now takes months, and every lab is running its own copy of it in parallel.
The loop, forget the loop for 1 second. What actually gets bigger between one model and the next?
Compute. More machines, longer run.
Compute is the step up, yes, and the scale is hard to hold in your head. A public supercomputer like Frontier at Oak Ridge fills a hall. Cabinets, cooling, cabling, floors of it. XI says Grok 4.5 was trained across tens of thousands of graphics chips. That is the raw material, and it is why the crown is heavy to lift and easy to drop.
And each lab doesn't ship one model. Look at the ladder. Flagship at the top, a balanced middle, a fast, cheap tier under that. And below all of it, the open weights world we covered a few episodes back, where you run the thing on your own machine. OpenAI names its rungs Sol, Terra, and Luna, and says outright that the number is the generation while the names are durable tiers. Anthropic has Fable and Sonnet. Google has Pro and Flash. Same shape, different words.
When a headline says a lab took the lead, which rung of the ladder are they even talking?
Wrong question, Liam. A headline only ever means the top rung.
Which rung of the ladder they mean is the whole trick though. Because the rung in the headline is almost never the rung you'd actually buy.
Nobody prints a headline about the cheap rung, which is where the money lives.
Then there's the timing, which is the part that looks like coincidence and isn't. Grok 4.5 landed on the 8th of July. GPT 5.6 went generally available on the 9th. 1 day apart, after 50 days of
Who counted that? Coincidence. Big companies aren't that fast on their feet.
It's a fair objection, and the calendar answers it. OpenAI's own preview page is dated the 26th of June. The model was finished and waiting almost 2 weeks before the launch.
Fine, it's chess. I fold.
And they're close enough to watch each other. OpenAI and Anthropic are both headquartered in San Francisco, a short drive apart. Google DeepMind, which builds Gemini, is headquartered in London. Same field, one shared talent pool, and everybody reads everybody's launch page the hour it goes up.
The London one always surprises me. Gemini isn't a Silicon Valley product in the way people assume. Am I close?
You are. Google DeepMind is a London institution with research centers across several countries. It matters less than people think for the models and more than people think for the culture, but it does mean the 3 names in the title of this video are not neighbors in one building. They're one field on 2 continents.
So keep that one warm, because it's the second thing we owe you. There is one scoreboard in this industry where the models are anonymous, nobody voting knows which is which, and it changed how the whole field argues. Wait until you hear who is actually keeping that score.
Anonymous how though? If nobody knows which model is which, who's actually keeping score?
Let me pause for just a second because this genuinely helps. If you are getting value here, hit that like button, then subscribe and ring the bell. It costs you nothing, and it is the single biggest thing that keeps these videos coming. Everything so far keeps the leaderboard intact. This next part is where it comes apart. Because before you can ask who's winning, somebody has to be keeping score, and there are 3 completely different ways to do it.
3, not 1. Nobody prints that part.
Number 1 is the public benchmark. Picture a room full of people sitting an exam. A benchmark is a fixed set of questions with known right answers. Coding tasks, graduate-level science, long-agent workflows. A model sits the exam, gets a percentage, and that percentage goes on the launch page. It's the most legible number in this whole industry. 1 score, 1 line, easy to headline. And it carries the exact weakness of every exam ever written, which is that if you know what's on it, you can study for it.
And that's the contamination thing we did back in episode 10. The answers leaking into the training data.
Same failure, 1 line, and we're not reteaching it. Nobody has to cheat on purpose. The internet gets scraped, the exam is on the internet, and the exam ends up in the training set.
Hold on, if a benchmark can be studied for, why does anyone still publish benchmark scores at all?
Because a fresh, well-built exam still measures something real, and because the alternative is vibes. That's actually the fix, and it's the coined thing I want you to walk out with. Call it the exam problem, not fraud, not lying. Just the ordinary, boring fact that an exam stops being a test the moment it becomes a study guide.
Hold on. Why is it even called a benchmark? Where does that word come from?
Surveyors. A mark cut into stone, so every later measurement starts from the same spot.
And that weirdly is exactly the problem and the reason it's worth the detour. A benchmark only works if it's a fixed mark that everybody measures from. The moment the mark itself gets copied into the thing being measured, it stops being a benchmark and starts being a rehearsal. Which brings us to the second way to score a model, and this is the one I promised you, the blind arena. You type a prompt. You get 2 answers back side by side from 2 anonymous models, and this is straight off the arena's own How It Works page. In battle mode, you'll be served 2 anonymous models. You pick the better answer. Only after you vote do you find out who wrote what.
No logo, no brand, just the answer.
Okay, that's genuinely clever. It kills the loyalty problem. You can't vote for your favorite lab if you don't know which one it is.
It kills that problem and creates a different one. Human beings vote for answers that look good. Confident tone, clean formatting, a tidy list. So a model that's slightly wrong but beautifully organized can beat a model that's right and blunt. The arena measures what people prefer, which overlaps with quality but is not the same.
So the arena grades handwriting.
It grades handwriting and the answer, and it's honest about that, which is more than most numbers manage.
Same thing I tell my nieces at the sewing table. A straight seam you can see beats a clever seam you can't. Third way, Erica.
3 ways, side by side. A public benchmark gives an exam-style score, and it misleads when the answers leak into training. A blind arena measures human preference, and it rewards style, not just truth. And a private eval measures your own real tasks, and misleads because nobody outside can check it. That last one deserves a second. A company builds a hidden test set out of its own real work, runs every model against it, and never publishes the result. It's the most useful score in existence and the least visible. Both things are true. It's the only test that measures the job you actually have, and nobody outside the building can check the claim.
Which leaves one honest referee in the middle, and it's not a lab.
The independent evaluators. My read is that's the only place a number from 2 different labs is even comparable.
That's the reason they exist. One independent index publishes its method openly. All models are evaluated under identical conditions, with consistent prompting, temperature, and criteria. 9 separate evaluations combined. And in its own methodology page, it writes the sentence every lab leaves out. Like all evaluation metrics, it has limitations and may not apply directly to every use case.
An evaluator that prints its own limits. Rare.
So we've got 3 scoreboards and none of them settle it. Which means somebody has to say the quiet part. If the score doesn't decide it, what does? Because
you're doing the wrong arithmetic. The score gap between the top models is a couple of points. The price gap is a factor of 10, and it is sitting right there on the same pages nobody scrolls down to.
So let's put the 2 of you on it properly. Because this is the fork that actually costs people money. Maya thinks the price sheet decides almost everything. Erica thinks the capability profile still decides the hard cases. Maya, make the case.
Fine, here are the real numbers per million tokens. Claude Fable 5, $10 in, $50 out. GPT 5.6 Sol, 5 in, 30 out. Gemini 3.5 Flash, $1.50 in, 9 out. Grok 4.5, 2 in, 6 out. Claude Sonnet 5, Introductory, 2 in, 10 out. And the cheapest OpenAI rung, Luna, $1 in, 6 out. Top rung to bottom rung, 10 times the input price. 8 times the output. And here's the one that ends the argument. That's the number I promised you in the cold open, and it's printed on OpenAI's own launch page. They write that their 2 cheaper models outperform Fable 5 at around 1/16 the cost. One lab's own page saying their budget tier beats a rival's flagship for a 16th of the money.
1/16 on their own page. All right.
16 to 1. Miss that, and you pay it every single day forever. The bill is the part that compounds.
And that lands somewhere real. Emma keeps a grocery split spreadsheet on our fridge for a difference of a few pounds a month. This is that gap, times 10, on a bill nobody ever opens. Erica, that's the strongest thing said today. Attack it head on.
Then attack it, I will, and carefully, because Maya's number is real and I'm not going to pretend it isn't. Here's what a cost claim like that leaves out. It's a claim by one lab about a rival on a benchmark that lab chose. Flip to the rival's page and the picture moves. And flip to a third lab's page and it moves again. Take the split decisions. On OpenAI's own launch page, their flagship beats Claude Fable 5 on the long workflow exam by 13.1 points, a real win, published by them. On that same page, on a different professional evaluation, Fable 5 is the one in front. Same 2 models, same day, 2 different winners.
Same 2 models, 2 winners, keep going.
It isn't only those 2. On XAI's own Grok 4.5 page, Grok leads one software engineering marathon at 29%. On the very next chart on that very same page, Grok is third, and Claude Fable is on top at 84.3. A lab published a table where it loses. That's the most honest thing in this whole industry, and it's the thing I want you to take.
Stop right there. That's my lane. Different winners means the price. Different winners means the price is the tiebreaker. If 2 models trade wins depending on the task, and one costs a 16th of the other, that's not a hard call for anybody who isn't running the hardest 5% of work in the world. Most people are not.
Here's the thing neither of you has touched. Google shipped its Frontier class model as the fast, cheap tier, straight into the app billions of people already have. Not a premium rung. Maya, Erica, where does that land in your 2 columns?
It lands on Maya's side, and I'll say so plainly. Google's own page calls that Flash model Frontier performance for agents and coding, and it's the tier that reaches everyone. When the cheap rung is that good, the price argument gets stronger, not weaker. Both things are true. The top of the ladder still wins the hardest tasks, and the middle of the ladder is where the actual work of the world is being done.
So bottom line, for almost everybody, pick the cheapest model and stop reading benchmark charts?
No, and that's a step too far. Pick the cheapest model that clears your own bar, which you can only find by running your own 5 real tasks through 2 or 3 of them. The charts tell you which 2 or 3 to try. They don't tell you which one to keep.
Your own 5 tasks. Fine, I'll take that, because it still ends at the price sheet.
Then let's score it honestly, because you've each won a column. Capability takes the headline and the hardest 5% of the work. When a task is genuinely at the edge, the flagship earns its price. Price takes the invoice and everything else. And the gap there is 16 to 1, not 2 points. Yeah. Sit with that one.
2 different columns, 2 different winners.
Right tool, right job. Now let's make you dangerous, because there's a launch coming, probably within a month of you watching this, and the announcement is going to be very good at being an announcement. Walk with me through what to actually look at.
Question 1 is the one we've been circling all episode. Best at what? Not best. Best at what?
And the answer is always on the page, usually below the headline. Find the evaluation they're leading with and ask whether it looks like your work. A long agent workflow across 55 professional fields is a real thing to measure. It is also not what you do when you ask for help writing an email.
Question 2. Who ran the test?
Which is a good moment to bring in Professor Kowalski, who knows how these models get evaluated and compared cold. She's on the line.
Hold on, the question isn't who ran the test, it's who could rerun it. Those are two different fights, and people lose the second one. A self-reported number is usually honest. It is almost never reproducible by you.
So when a lab publishes a chart with a rival on it, how much should I actually trust the rival's bar?
Usually, the rival's bar is drawn from that rival's own published system card. XAI says exactly that under its charts, in writing. It's not fabricated. But the harness, the effort setting, and the prompt template are the publishing lab's choices. And those three knobs move a score more than most people would believe.
And that's why the identical conditions language on an independent evaluator's page matters so much. It's the only sentence that makes two labs' numbers the same species.
The evaluation side I know cold. Once you get into how a specific lab tunes its own harness internally, that's a different animal. I'd want somebody who has actually run those harnesses to weigh in. What I can tell you is the test that never lies to you, your own tasks, your own data, run this week.
Question 3. What does it cost?
And this is where the pen comes out, because per-token pricing sounds abstract until you turn it into a bill. Flagships run about $5 to $10 a million in take the top of that band. Take a modest month, say 2 million tokens of input and 400,000 tokens of output. Run that on the flagship at $10 a million in. 2 million at $10 a million, that's $20 of input. Now the output at 50 a million, 4/10 of 50. So that's 20 again. Call it $40 for the month. The same month on the cheapest rung at $1 in and 6 out is $2 plus $2.40. $4.40.
$40 or 4, same month.
And the middle rung? I want to say $2 in, but I don't trust my memory on a number people are going to act on. Erica, read the page.
Straight off Anthropic's own announcement, and I'll read it slowly. It launches with introductory pricing of $2 per million input tokens and $10 per million output tokens through the 31st of August, 2026. After that, $3 and $15.
There it is. Write that one down, not my guess.
And that's the safest route for most people. I mean, safest if your tasks are the ordinary ones. If you're doing genuinely hard work at the edge, the flagship can be cheaper in the end, because a model that fails a task 3 times costs more than a model that gets it right once at 4 times the price.
And if the task is right on the boundary, same answer?
Okay, 2 ways to answer that. If it's borderline, you don't guess, you measure. Run it on both for a week and compare the total cost per finished task, not per token. That's the number that decides it.
Per finished task, not per token.
Per finished task. A cheap model that needs 4 attempts isn't cheap.
There's one more axis, and it never shows up on a chart at all. The labs genuinely differ in posture, and it's fair to say so plainly. Anthropic ships its top model with safeguards that route some flagged questions to a smaller model instead. That's in their own announcement. OpenAI ran its newest family through a limited preview before opening it up. Google pushed frontier-class capability into the free fast tier that billions of people already have. XI shipped fast and held a region back on availability.
You're right that none of that is a score. But it's the thing that decides whether the model will even answer your question. So isn't posture the 5th number on the page?
It is, and none of those 4 postures is the villain. There are 4 different bets about how to release something powerful, and each one costs its lab something real. Judge them on what they publish, not on what a headline calls them.
So to borrow Erica's word, the exam problem is why no leaderboard settles this, and the price sheet is why it doesn't have to. Best at what price on whose tasks? That's the whole method.
And it'll still be true when every model we name tonight is retired.
The model wars aren't a ladder, they're a relay. The baton keeps changing hands, and the race never actually ends.
Different runners, same track.
Next episode, we go after the one people actually argue about at dinner. whether any of this is conscious, and why serious scientists refuse to laugh that question out of the room.
Before that, do the 5-task test this week. Take the 5 things you genuinely use one of these tools for, run them through 2 models, and keep the cheaper one that clears your bar. That single hour outranks every chart in this episode, and send this to whoever in your life is paying $40 a month for work that costs $4.
I'm still not over a lab publishing a chart where it comes third, on its own launch page.
My favorite number is still 16-1, a budget tier beating a rival's flagship for a 16th of the money, printed by the lab that built the budget tier.
If this made the next launch announcement easier to read, hit like and subscribe. This series only gets built if people keep showing up for it. One last thing, and it is genuinely yours to settle. Which model do you actually use, and did you ever test it or just trust the headline? Whatever ships next, you now know which 3 questions to ask it. Thanks for watching and take care of each other.
This is Professor Erica. Thanks for watching and signing off.